Hi everyone, WebDunce here. In this video I'm going to show you how to make this ring. This is a rectangular signet ring with inlaid gemstones. And I'll show you not only how to make the ring, but also how to make the materials, the silver, the wood, the onyx, and even a kind of rough silver material for the underside of the ring. We'll start off by creating a new file. I'm going to use the small objects millimeters template. We'll hop over to the front viewport and I'll lay in the sizing circle. I'm going to make it a US size 10, so I'm going to give it a diameter of 19.76 millimeters. And I will set the curve seam to the bottom quad. And now we'll lay in the bottom arc. To do that, I'm going to snap in a point here at the left quad and also one at the bottom quad. I'll move the left point out by 2 millimeters and I'll move the bottom point down by 1.6 millimeters. I'm sorry, we'll add another 1/10 of a millimeter to that. So I'm just going to Control Z and we'll move it down by 1.7 millimeters. Now I'm going to lay in an ellipse at the center of the world, snapping first to one point and then to the other. Then I'll mirror this left point over to the other side and split this ellipse by these 2 points here. And then I'll delete the upper half as well as all of the points. And now we want to lay in the top line up here. So we'll grab the line tool, we'll snap to the top quad of the sizing circle, and we'll click on both sides up in the command line. Now this is going to double the length. I want this line to be 14 millimeters long, but because we've got both sides activated, I'm going to type the number 7 and hit enter. So this is giving us a 14 millimeter line. I want this to be perfectly horizontal. To do that, I'm going to hold down Shift and pull out to the side and click. And now we'll raise this line up 4 millimeters. Now we want to connect the bottom arc to this line up here, and we'll use Extend Curve to do that. So click on Extend Curve, then up in the command line, click on Type and set it equal to Arc. And then click on the left side of the bottom arc. You can see that the line is extending, but you can't really control where it goes. So up in the command line, click on 2 point and then snap to the left side of that upper line. The command is still running, so click on the right side of the bottom arc and then snap to the right side of the line and click. And you'll have to press enter to exit that command. Then select the bottom and the upper line there and join them together and move the curve seam down to the bottom. All right, and now we are ready to lay in the side curves. So we'll go over to the right viewport and we'll lay in a line at the top. So we'll snap to the top and we'll click on both sides again. I want an 8 millimeter line up here, so I'm going to type the number 4 and hit enter. I want it to be horizontal, so I'm going to hold down Shift, pull out to the side and click. We'll do the same thing to the bottom, except that the line will only be 4 millimeters long. So we'll get the line tool, snap to the bottom, click on both sides, type the number 2, hit enter, hold down Shift, pull out to the side and click. Now we're going to use the arc tool. You don't always have to use the arc tool. You can put a variety of shapes between these two lines, but for this project we're going to use the arc tool. We're going to use, there's the arc drop down, but we're going to click on this particular arc tool right here. So under curve tools, it should be right here. If you can't find it there for some reason, you can get it from the arc drop down. It's the third option in. Okay. So this particular arc tool lets us select a start point, an end point, and a direction. The direction that we want to choose is straight down. To do that, hold down Shift and pull down and click. And this will make that gentle arc for you there. And then we want to extend it a little bit above the top and a little bit below the bottom. So we'll click on Extend Curve, click on the top and pull up a little bit, click on the bottom and pull down a little bit. Hit enter, and then we'll mirror this line across to the other side. And now we'll join these two lines together with straight lines. So we'll get the line tool again and connect the two tops and then the two bottoms. And then we'll join all of these lines together to make a closed shape. And then we'll delete these guidelines that we made earlier. So now we've got our front curves and our side curves done, and we're ready to to create the base shape. So we'll just select the two front curves and we'll extrude them out. I'm going to switch to shaded mode so it'll be easier to look at. And then we'll click on the side curves and extrude them out. You want to make sure that the two shapes extend past each other. So for instance, you don't want this shape to come within this shape here like that. You want it to extend past the front shape, and you want the front shape to extend past the side shape. Okay, you don't want something like that. You want the shapes to extend past each other. Now we're going to run the Boolean intersection command. So click on one of the shapes. It doesn't matter which one. Click on Boolean intersection, click on the other shape and hit enter. And that is our base shape. And now we're ready to hollow out the ring. So we're going to have to create, it's going to be a lot like creating the ring. We're going to create a set of front curves and then a set of side curves to create a shape that will hollow out the ring. So let's jump over to the front view. And it's better to be in shaded mode for this. And we're going to click on the outer curve here. And normally, if we didn't have the inlaid gemstones, what I would do is offset that outer curve by 0.8, maybe 0.1, maybe 0.8 to maybe 1 millimeter. And this would be the beginning, this shape here would be the beginning of the shape of the hollow from the front view. But because we have those inlaid stones, we can't do that. So what we need to do, and let me see if I can show you why. So let's say that the inlaid gemstones are 0.6 millimeters thick. So we'll offset the outer curve by 0.6 millimeters. And let's pretend that this was a gemstone here. If we were to hollow this ring out by coming in 0.8 millimeters from the outer curve, that would only leave 0.2 millimeters or 0.2 of a millimeter of metal behind the gemstones for the gemstones to rest on. And that's just not enough metal. So what we need to do, I'll just delete both of these, is first, and again, this is just because of the inlaid gemstones. We will select the outer curve and offset by the thickness of the gemstones. We're going to say that they're 0.6 millimeters for this project, 0.6 millimeters thick. Okay, so this is where our inlaid gemstones will come to. And now we need to click on that line and offset again by the amount of metal that we would like to have behind our gemstones. And I'm going to say 0.8 would be good for that. Okay, so we can delete this line now. And this is the starting point of our hollow shape from the front view. Now we're going to cut the bottom off this shape. So lay in a line somewhere around here, probably about 4 millimeters or 3 or 4 millimeters down from the red axis line, somewhere in this area right here. And then select both of those lines, the shape here and this line that we just made, and then come up to, under Curve Tools, come up to Curve Boolean, click on that. Make sure that Delete Input is set to all. So if it's set to none, for instance, click on it and set it to all. And then click inside this area here. You'll see it kind of highlight, and then hit Enter. And you'll be left over with this shape. Now, we don't want our hollow to come down and then come out abruptly out of the ring. We want it to exit gently. And whenever possible, it's not always possible, but we would generally like the hollow to come out a little above the halfway point, but that's not a hard and fast rule. So that's just, at least where I worked, that was a general preference whenever possible. That might not apply to, I just worked at one jewelry store for 10 years. So that was a general rule of thumb there. It might not be a general rule of thumb everywhere. But in this case, we do want it to exit about 1 millimeter above this line here. So if we'll just lay in a straight line as a kind of a guide going across the center here, and then lift it up about 1 millimeter above, this is where our hollow is going to exit, and our gemstone is going to end about 2 millimeters above that line, right? So this is going to be about the bottom of our gemstone here. Okay, so we'll delete that line for the moment, and we're going to select this line. This is just a guide, by the way, right here. We're going to select this shape here. We're going to go to Transform and click on the Cage Edit tool, and we're going to click on Bounding Box, C-Plane, and then it should say 444 333 by default. So you should be able to just hit Enter through this part, but if it doesn't, just double check. Make sure it says 444 333, and then hit Enter once, twice, and then you'll get these control points. Just box select the bottom row of control points and scale them in until your shape right here kind of intersects over where this line intersects the sizing circle. Okay, so I'm just going to scale in again. You don't have to be 100% precise, just close. So that's pretty close right there. This shape is going over this where this line intersects the sizing circle. So we know that the hollow is exiting the ring at about 1 millimeter above this axis line here. Okay, we're going to delete the cage, and we can delete this guideline here as well. And now we will create the shape of the hollow from the side view. Okay, so we'll just hop over to the right viewport. We'll select this outer shape here. And again, this is just a design choice, but I'm going to have us inset or offset that curve by 1.2 millimeters. All right. And so now this is the shape of our hollow from the side view. We'll just hop over to the perspective view. Let's turn on, well, we don't even need to do that. So we've got this curve here, that's our side view curve, and this is our front view curve for the hollow. And now we will isolate those. And we will extrude the front view curve. And we'll extrude the side view curve and take the intersection of those two shapes, just like we did with the ring. And now we'll type show and bring back the ring. And this shape here is going to cut out the hollow of our ring. So you click on the ring, click on Boolean difference. Now, if you want to keep this shape, this cutter that's going to cut out the hollow, then you want delete input set to no. If you want the shape to be deleted after you cut out the hollow, you set delete input to yes. Okay, for this project, I'll just go ahead and set delete input to yes for this particular operation. So I'll hit enter. And I think I missed a step here some kind of way. So we'll try that again. Click on the ring, click on Boolean difference, delete input is set to yes. I didn't click on the other shape. So you got to click on the other shape and then hit enter, and it will create the hollow, and it also deleted the cutter for us. Okay. And now what we want to do is fillet the entire ring. So you can set individual fillets. You can definitely do that. For instance, you could put like a 1 millimeter fillet on these. Oops. Try that again. 1 millimeter fillet on these two shapes, edges, and then you could put like a 0.5 millimeter fillet on these edges here. I'm clicking chain edges so it selects all the way around. Okay, you could definitely do something like that, and I did do that in my short version, my short video that I made for a ring like this. But I've decided to go with sharper fillets on the entire ring, and so I'm going to click on it, and we're going to give 0.3 millimeter fillets to the entire ring. So I'm just going to box select the entire ring, hit enter a couple of times, and now the entire ring has 0.3 millimeter fillets. I'm going to check the edges. Sometimes the fillet command will leave you with bad edges when you do an entire ring like that. So I'm going to select the ring, click on Analyze, and click on Edge Tools and Show Edges. And what we're looking for here is up in the command line that there are no naked edges, and no non-manifold edges too, but I was particularly looking for no naked edges in this case. Okay, so we're good on that. There were no problems. At least it appears there were no problems. So we've got the ring hollowed out, we've got it filleted, and we're ready to move on to making the recessed areas here. But first, these curves are kind of getting confusing to me, so I'm going to move them all to a separate layer. So I'm going to select all the curves. I hid the ring, now I'm selecting all the curves, and I think I'll move them to the blue layer, and that way we can turn them off and on as we need to. I'll call the blue layer curves. All right. And then I'll turn them off. I'm going to type show to bring back the ring. And now we can move on to creating the recessed areas. So what we want to do is create copies of the top panel and the side panel. To do that, we're going to come to Solid Tools and then click on Extract Surface, and make sure that you set copy to yes in the command line. So if it says no, click on it and change it to where it says copy equals yes. Then click on the top panel and the side panel and hit enter. And now we have copies of those two panels. We want to isolate those, so click on Visibility and then Isolate Objects. And now we will jump over to the front viewport, We're going to lay in a straight line coming in from the center of the world. Hold down Shift and pull out to the left, and we'll raise this line up 2 millimeters. And we're going to use this to cut that surface off. So while that line is selected, click on Trim, and then click on this bottom part of this surface, hit Enter, and then hit Delete. And we'll jump back over to the perspective view, and we'll use these surfaces to create the cutters that will make the recessed areas. So select both of these panels, and just to give you a word about selecting, if you select from left to right, you have to put all of the objects you want within the box, and because it will only select anything that is fully within the box. If you select right to left, whatever touches the box gets selected. Okay, so you can either do this, or you can do this, or you can hit Control A. Either way. So select both of those surfaces, come to Curve Tools, and click on this little drop down and choose Duplicate Border. And it has now placed curves around the edges of these surfaces. So now we want to select this curve on the top surface. And because the top surface is flat, we have our choice. We can use either the regular Offset Curve command, or we can use the Offset Curve on Surface command. But because this one is simpler, we'll go ahead and use it. So we'll click on that. We want a distance of 1 millimeter, and then you want to pull inward toward the center of your surface and click. Okay, and now we will select this curve and go to Offset Curve on Surface. So because this is a curved surface, you have to use Offset Curve on Surface. It says Select Base Surface, so click on the surface. Make sure your arrows are pointing inward. They should be, but if for some reason they're not, click on Flip up in the command line, okay, until the arrows are pointing inward toward the center of the surface. We want the offset distance to be 1, so if it already says 1 there, you can just hit Enter, but if it doesn't, you would need to type 1 and then hit Enter. Okay, so now select both of these surfaces, and let's run the Split command, and then click on these two curves and hit Enter. And now I want to select everything, so I'm going to press Control A to select everything, and then I'm going to deselect these two surfaces. To do that, I'm going to hold down Control and then click on this surface and then this one. And now I'll press the Delete key to delete everything else. So we're left with these two surfaces, and these are what we will use to create the cutters. So select both of those surfaces, click on Surface Tools, click on Offset Surface, set the distance to the thickness of the gemstones, which is 0.6 millimeters. And then make sure that you have solid set to yes, both sides set to yes, and delete input set to yes, and then hit Enter, and you will end up with these shapes here. We will mirror this one over to the other side, and then I'll type Show to bring back the ring. Now these are going to be not only the cutters to cut out the recessed areas from the ring, but we're going to make the gems out of these shapes as well. I'm going to put them on a different layer, so I'm going to select all 3 of them, and I'll put them on the green layer. So I'm going to right click on the green layer and click on Change Object Layer. And now we will click on the ring, and we will run the Boolean difference command. Make sure that delete input is set to no. So if it says yes there, click on it and set it to no, because we want to keep these shapes that we just made. Hit Enter. And now if we turn off the green layer, you can see that we have our recessed areas. All right. While we have got the green layer turned off, I'm going to go ahead and lay put some small fillets of 0.1 millimeters on these edges here. So 0.1 millimeter radiuses on all of these edges. Okay, this is just for the render. So the little fillets, they will catch the light, and it just helps out with the render. So I'm going to hit Enter a couple times. And now I'll bring back the gemstones, or these shapes here, and we're going to trim them so that they are level with the ring. To do that, we'll bring back our curves. We'll select this outer curve right here, and we'll extrude it out. Okay, and now select the 3 gemstones, and then click on the Boolean intersection command, and then click on this shape here. Hit Enter, and now these are our gemstones. They're level with the ring. I want to isolate them for just a moment and just put a small fillet on their outer edges as well. again of 0.1 millimeter. 0.1 millimeter is going to be our radius, which it should already say that for you. And we'll just click on these edges right here. And hit enter a couple of times. And so we've added, and again, this is just for the render. And so we've added those fillets. I'm going to type show to bring everything back. I'm going to turn off the curves. And we are almost done. All that's left is to make the punch outs back here. And so that's what we'll do right now. Creating the punch outs will be very similar to creating the recessed areas. We want to start off by creating copies of this panel and this panel. So we'll come up to Solid Tools, Extract Surface, make sure the copy set to yes, click on the top panel and this side panel here on the left, hit enter, and then come up to Visibility and Isolate. All right, and now we will come to Curve Tools and Duplicate Border. We will select the border of the top surface here and run the offset curve on right here, offset curve command. We want to set the distance this time to 0.8 and then pull inward toward the center of the surface and click. Then select the other curve and click on offset curve on surface, click on the surface, and then type in, we want to set the offset distance to 0.8, so type in 0.8, hit enter. And now select both surfaces, run the split command, and click on these two curves that we just made. And now select everything and deselect using control click. So again, select everything, hold down control and click and hit delete. All right. And now we will take these two surfaces and we will do offset surface on that, set the distance to 2, and make sure that solid is yes, both sides is yes, and delete input is yes. Hit enter. And now we want to put a small fillet, give a radius of 0.15 to these corners here. Hit enter a couple of times, and then we'll mirror this shape over to the other side and type show to bring back the ring. Okay, now we will use these shapes to cut out the punch out holes, and we'll do that with Boolean difference. So we'll click on the ring and then we will click on Solid Tools and Boolean difference. Now again, here we have a choice. Do we want to keep the cutters or do we want them to be deleted? So that's your choice. If you want to keep the cutters, you would set it to delete input equals no, and then you would click, then you would click on these shapes and hit enter, and then the shapes would stay. And then I would probably, if I was going to keep them, I'd probably make a layer called cutters, and then I would move them over to that layer. Okay, so then they're on a layer that you can turn off and on, and if you ever want those cutters again, you can just turn it on and there you go. You don't have to make them again. Okay, so now alternately you could do all of this, and so I don't know if we undone the, yeah, okay. And yes, that's a phone ringing in the background. I don't know if it's coming through into the recording or not, but if it is, I apologize. All right, so you could run this and set delete input to yes, click on these three shapes, hit enter, and then they would disappear after the operation was done. So either way that you want to do it, that's up to you. If you want to keep the shapes, you can keep them. If you want to get rid of them at the end of the operation, you can do that as well. Now I want to put a small fillet along these edges, and so we'll click on the fillet command. I'm going to make the radius be 0.1, and this is why I put rounded the corners of those cutters for the punch outs, so that we could use the chain edges option here. So click on chain edges and click on an edge, and because we rounded those corners, it selected all the way around for us. And then the way you do this, because I want to do this for all three punch outs, hit enter, chain edges again, and then click on the lower edge down there, enter, chain edges, click, enter, chain edges, click, enter, chain edges, click, enter, chain edges, click, and then hit enter 3 times, 2, 3. And now we are done with our punch outs. I'll bring back the gemstones, and actually we're just done with the modeling. So now we're ready to move on to creating the materials. So let's go ahead and switch over to rendered mode, and Let's change the background first. So click on the rendering tab and then come down here to backdrop and click on gradient. Click on this color box here, and if you're not on the custom color list, like if you're on one of the color wheels, just click on custom color list, and let's change the top color to the light gray, and let's change the bottom color to white. And now let's switch over to the materials tab and click on this plus sign and then click on metal, and by default it makes a kind of silvery material for you. It also highlights the name, giving you a chance to rename it. I'm going to type in silver. You can call it whatever you want. If you don't rename it there, it's okay. You can rename it later here at any time that you want. And now let's drag this over onto our ring, and you can see that's already looking pretty nice. But let's just click on this color box right here, and if you're not on the custom color list, just click on this drop down and switch to custom color list. While you're editing a metallic material, Rhino will present you with metallic colors and only metallic colors. So let's click on silver and click OK. It's just a little bit darker is all. Okay, and you can change the polish level as well. So it's a slider. You could drag it around to whatever you like. For polished metal, you probably want to leave it at 85% or above. You could go all the way up to 100. In my opinion, 100 looks a little too harsh or something, so I'm going to put it at 90. So you can either drag it around or you can double click it to type in a value. So I'm going to double click it and type in 90%. Okay, and now let's go ahead and make the onyx material. So we'll click on this plus sign here, click on, you can either use paint or plastic. In my personal opinion, paint looks a little better for onyx, but you can experiment with plastic too. And let's change the name to onyx, and then click on the color block here and change the color to black. And if we drag that on, let's drag it on to all of our gemstones, even though later we're going to make the wooden material for the sides. If you look, you can see that the shininess is a lot sharp compared to the shininess of the metal. We just double click on the slider here and change it to 90, the glossiness slider, and then it will match the shininess level of the metal a little better for us. And in my opinion, onyx and silver is a great combination. I think that looks really sharp. Okay, now we'll make the wood material. Before you create the wood material, you'll need to download the image, and you'll do that over at textures.com. So you can also take a picture of wood, but you'll need, it's up to you. You can use any image that you want, honestly. But this is the image that I used. And textures.com is, in my opinion, a really great website. I've got a free account there, and I've used it for years. But you can sign up for a paid account if you wish, but you don't have to. Free account will suffice for this project. Click on wood, and then click on find wood. So over on the left panel, you'll have to use their scroll bar, scroll all the way down and click on wood, and then click on find wood over here, and then scroll down a pretty good bit until you find this image right here, and click on that, and it's called Woodfind 0011. Download that to your computer and try to remember where you downloaded it to. And then once you have that image downloaded, then we can create the wood material. So click on this plus sign and then click on physically based and change the name to wood or whatever you like. And then here on the color block, click on this little drop down and click on assign texture. Navigate to wherever you saved that wooden image at. For me, it's right here. And now it's already a material. You can go ahead and drag it onto your gemstones there on the side. Okay, and the shiny, it's a little bit dull, so let's just for some reason physically based materials have a roughness level instead of a glossy level or polish level. So to match a 90% polish level, we'll need to set the roughness level to 10%. So double click on that and type in 10, and you can see that's increased the shininess a little bit for us. It matches our ring better. So now I'm going to show you how to change the direction of the wood grain if you want to do that. Okay. If you want to change the angle of the wood grain, just come down here to this panel called Detailed Settings. You can see what looks like the word text here. Depending on how wide your panel is on the side, what that actually is the name of the image. So just click on the name of the image. Don't click on the three dots. Click on the name of the image, and it will pull up some other settings. Scroll down, and one of those settings is rotation, and you can type in different angles there. So for instance, you could type in 30 degrees, which that looks pretty good. And so that will actually apply to anything that has that texture. Okay, so that's one way that you can use to rotate the textures. And now we'll work on creating the rough unfinished silver material on the underside of the ring. Okay, to give the inside of the ring a different material, we'll need to split this ring into two pieces, the outside and the inside. And so let's switch over to shaded mode. And let's turn off the green layer, which, by the way, I meant to call the green layer Gems. I meant to rename it. I'll do that now. And let's turn that off. And then let's grab the, under Solid Tools, let's grab the surface, Extract Surface command. And make sure that you have copy set to no in this case. Okay, not yes. You definitely want it set to no, because we want to literally remove surfaces in this case. So what we want to do is extract this surface and these surfaces here. Okay, so click on them and hit enter. And now what that's done is separated those surfaces out from the model, leaving us with an outside piece and an inside piece. The only thing is we want the outside to be joined with these pieces here. So let's do that over. I'm going to Control Z back to undo all of that. We'll do it over again, and this time I'll show you how to end up with everything correct. Okay, so extract surface. Make sure copy set to no. Click on the inside of the ring, and then click on these three surfaces here. Hit enter, and then while they're selected, hold down Shift and click on the outside of the ring and click on Join. All right, and now you should have the outer part of your ring and the inner part of your ring. I'll Control Z just to put the ring back into place, and we still have them as two separate pieces. You could put them on different layers if you wanted. That might be easier for you to keep up with. So for instance, we could put this on, say, the white layer here. I'm not saying you need to put it on the white layer, but I'm just saying you could if you wanted to. Okay, so I'll put it back. Well, I'll leave it there. That's fine. But what we want to do now is assign different materials to a different material to this inner piece here. So let's switch back over to rendered mode and go back to our materials tab. I'm going to click on these two little arrows here just to shrink all of the properties there, and we'll right click on silver and click on duplicate. Okay, and we'll rename this flat silver. So I'm actually going to make two more materials, flat silver and rough silver. All right, right now flat silver is exactly the same as regular silver. We can just drag this over onto our inside piece here, and nothing has happened. We need to make some adjustments. So double click on flat silver, and we're going to adjust the polish level. So I'm just going to zoom in here and get it where you can see how shiny, how nice and shiny that inside piece is, because right now it's 90% polished. We want to double click on that and just drop that down to 60%. Okay, and you can see right away that it has turned flat in there. Okay, so that would honestly we could have left it polished. As far as giving this to a client, I probably would have made a render like this. From this angle here, I would have done a side view, a looking down view, through the finger view, and a 3/4 view. I usually would do all of those render all of those with transparent backgrounds, bring them into some other software like a vector software. I use Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo for the rest of that process. I'm not going to go into that process today, but I'm just going to say that in the final render that I would give to the client, I probably would have left this just as polished silver. I probably wouldn't be going into all of this, but sometimes I would. If it just looked odd to me, I would sometimes change this to a flat material. So that's going to be your call, honestly, if you're ever in a position where you're going to be presenting clients with renders of the designs that you've made. And then the second step is really going all out, we're going to add a roughness so that it looks like we never did anything inside this ring. So let's go back to our materials tab, and we will right click on flat silver and click on duplicate, and we'll call this rough silver, and we'll drag that over onto the inside there. You don't have to duplicate them every time. You could just have duplicated it once and kept working in that same material. That's up to you. So we'll double click on this, and all we're doing now is we're going to add a bump texture. We'll add leather. You can see already it's made a kind of a splotchiness effect there. We just need to reduce the size. So you could do either extra small or extra small, okay, which I prefer the smallest one there. And if that still looks a little too intense to you, like maybe too bumpy, like the bumps are too deep, you can switch over to physically based and then change this value right here to 5%, and you can see that just kind of softens it down. I kind of like that. So to me, that just looks like unfinished metal pretty good. I think that's pretty nice looking. All right, so there you go. Yeah, so we have modeled the ring, we've modeled the gemstones, we've done all of the materials, including even the rough material on the inside. So that wraps up this tutorial, and I just want to thank everyone for watching, and I hope to see all of you in future videos.